Howdy, boys and girls. See, I'm out of practice. We skip a week, and I can't even say the intro correctly. Welcome back to the Carla and Crappy Show. Hi, Carla. How you doing?
I'm good. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. I have to apologize. The fact that we missed last week was my fault because my day job meant that I had to watch the Republican debate from the Reagan Library. Carla, did you get to watch any of that?
Not a lot, but I think this means that we can officially blame Donald Trump for there not being a Week 3 show.
I don't know. Trump just like vanished for about half of that thing. I think that was the beginning of the end for Trump's candidacy. Carly Fiorina was the clear winner. So if we were handicapping presidential debates, that's pretty much all the discussion we need, I think, for that one. No one is going to be able to accuse us after this week of having an East Coast bias, because this week on the Carla and Crappy Show, we figure out what is going to happen exactly with the Pac-12 West,
or something like that,
or something like that. Before we get to this week's games, and we did want to take a minute to get caught up. Carla, did you have any impressions about stuff from great games last weekend? What did you see?
Well, first of all, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, so I don't want to elaborate on it, but injuries still suck. This is just absolutely ridiculous this season. I'm not sure we've ever seen anything quite like this, with the number of key players on championship contender teams. Now, not necessarily national championship contender teams, but conference championship contenders out for the season. This is crazy. And like I said, we're talking Pac-12, so we'll get into that in a bit. What I think is interesting is I think you can make the case, and I'm going way out on a limb here, but I really think that you can make the case that the two teams in college football that have the best resume of wins right now that are undefeated are Toledo and Northwestern. I really think you can make that case. Toledo was the underdog in both of their games. They've got a win against the Big 12 opponent and an SEC opponent now. True, both of them were close games, and they had to take Iowa State to overtime in Glass Bowl, so you got to give that for what it's worth. But Northwestern, two really, really nice wins. They went on the road and beat Duke last week. That's nothing to be laughed at. And then mopping up
not these days, no. Yeah.
And mopping up a Stanford team that kind of dominated against USC last week. So suddenly everyone's kind of going, maybe this is the year Pat Fitzgerald wins the West. Because who's going to beat him? You look at that resume out there, and you're just kind of like, okay, yeah, maybe it's the Wildcats here. But I think it's kind of fun that we can say that Northwestern and Toledo. I really think you can make the case that they both have now Toledo will fall behind because they start playing a MAC schedule, and it's the MAC. I love the MAC, but it's the MAC. But I really
at this point, I am all for boosting up MAC teams. That's I am all about.
Absolutely. You know our passion. The people that haven't watched the show know that we have a passion for Tuesday night MAC shenanigans.
Absolutely.
Can't wait for that time of year. But yeah, I think that's kind of the interesting thing. It's a topsy-turvy year. Does anybody really want to win this thing? Who knows? The only thing that we've learned is that everything is uncertain, including for your Buckeyes.
Including for my Buckeyes,
Sorry about that.
Which I'm not going to talk about, although I will mention Urban just announced a little while ago, we're taping this on Wednesday night, that Cardell's going to start again on Saturday against Western Michigan.
And despite his Twitter bio?
Yeah, yes. We'll see how it goes. I'm wearing my my number 97 jersey because Ohio State's defense will deliver us from whatever problems we have, as they have for the first 3 weeks of this season. And that's all I need to say about that. The thing, I had a great time on Saturday, in spite of the fact that I had to work. We're in a new office, and I have 2 gigantic televisions sitting up above my desk. So I had college football on all day. It was fun watching Auburn be exposed by an LSU team. Oh God, who's the tailback there? The one who's like 8 feet tall and 400 pounds?
Leonard Fournette.
Thank you. He's a monster. Good Lord, that's just frightening. And then I got to watch Alabama and Ole Miss. Alabama's clearly struggling with its own quarterback thing, something that I can perhaps relate to. And Ole Miss, man, they are the real deal this season. That's going to be a fun thing to watch develop.
Yeah.
If LSU can beat Alabama, maybe you set up something with Ole Miss later in the season. Boy, that'll be fun. That'll be a fun one to get to.
I think the fun stat, I don't remember who tweeted this, but I saw this on Saturday night, was the fact that Auburn, and we're not going to talk about this game, but Auburn plays Mississippi State this weekend. Auburn in the preseason polls was picked to win the West. Mississippi State was picked 8th in the West, and now Mississippi State is favored in that game.
Oh, jeez. Oh, and I saw. I mean, I know I came across things that were people who had mentioned Auburn, as at least being in the conversation for a national title. And
I picked them in my top 4. Remember?
Yes, I do. It's not looking that way. But we have lots. Trust me, we'll have plenty of time to talk about the SEC later on in the season. There aren't a ton of big matchups this week, although we will decide to a large extent what happens with the Pac-12 West. But we're going to start with one Big Ten game because I think this is a good measuring stick of exactly how this team is what their season is going to be like. We're talking about number 22 Brigham Young visiting Michigan. Michigan's a 5.5-point favorite. We're gonna find out this Saturday exactly what Jim Harbaugh has. What do you think is going to happen there? Yeah,
I was actually going to throw that question back to you a little bit with the still living in Big Ten country. We don't get quite as much news down here. Is this a must win for Harbaugh heading into this? I mean, with perceptions being where they are, Michigan, they struggled in that first game. A couple nice wins in the last 2 weeks, but I think people are a little bit shaky, and Jake Rudock at quarterback has not proven anything. I mean, he's already thrown 5 interceptions this year. I'm kind of wondering what the feeling is, especially being a Buckeye fan. We want to see Michigan be competitive. That's good for the league. And it's good for the rivalry, and it's good for all that fun stuff. But I don't know. Do you think Harbaugh's feeling the pressure on this one?
Number one, I think Harbaugh's insane. So I don't think he's feeling any great pressure in this. Only the most idiotic fan at this point would look the idiotic Michigan fan. And I say this because I'm surrounded by idiotic Ohio State fans all the time. Would expect this to be a must-win game. But it is interesting how the last 2 weeks wins against a lousy Oregon State team and UNLV. It's interesting to see what that has done for confidence both of the team and its fans. Perhaps a little bit unrealistic, given I didn't get to watch much of those games. I got to see the game against Utah, and they clearly struggled there against a quality Utah team. If Michigan can run the ball as they did and take the pressure off of Mr. Rudock, that's going to help. I'm still not convinced that that's going to be enough against Brigham Young.
Yeah.
Brigham Young gave UCLA everything it can handle a week ago, and that's they lost I think by a point, and that's the only reason that they're not undefeated.
Right.
So you threw this back at me, so I'm going to go ahead and make the pick. I think Brigham Young squeaks out a win. I guess you'd call that an upset, but they squeak out a win in Ann Arbor. What do you think?
Yeah, BYU became the media darlings of this college football season with the Hail Mary to beat Nebraska at the beginning of the year. And then they turned around and did it again against Boise in back-to-back weeks, throwing essentially Hail Marys to win games. Now, true, they scored again against Boise, so technically the Hail Mary didn't win the game, but,
Coach Harbaugh, deep safety all the time.
Yeah, knock it down. Knock it down. But I mean, the BYU Hail Mary that started this season, I mean, that was a Cinderella story because here you have a freshman. I use that term loosely because technically he is a freshman, but he just came back from his mission, so he's an older freshman, so he has a little bit more stature about him. But Tanner Magnum has just got thrown in the middle of again injury, right? So he got thrown in at the last minute. Only has been back from his mission for a few weeks before the season started. And nobody really knew whether or not he was going to be able to lead this team. And what does he do? He leads them down the field, and they beat Nebraska in Lincoln, and then to turn around and do it again against Boise, and then to hang with UCLA. And they were driving down the field to do it again against UCLA. And Magnum showed a little bit of his inexperience, and he threw a pick. And that's how they lost. But they had the possession with less than a minute to play, and they were driving down the field to go, kick the game-winning field goal, and he threw a pick. I'm with you on this one. I think BYU has proven that they're not afraid of the big game situation by going into Lincoln and winning, even though that was an afternoon game. I know this is a late afternoon game, I think, right? Like a 3:30ish.
I think it's 3:30.
But I don't think BYU is going to be intimidated. You know, they went to UCLA and gave UCLA game. They beat Nebraska at home in Lincoln.
I would say Nebraska is a tougher environment overall than Michigan is. But yeah, I'm right there with you.
I think what the heck? It's going to be 3 out of 4 games this season. They're going to win on a Hail Mary. I really do think that BYU could win on the last possession. I mean, why not, right? But I think it'll be a good game. But I don't think BYU is going to be intimidated, and I think they're going to go in and get a win. And I think we're going to start to see, like you're saying, the insane Michigan fans and the insane Ohio State fans, and maybe a little bit of the insane Big Ten fans starting to throw the panic flags out the window.
Harbaugh's going to be fine, but he's playing with last year's players. Give him a year or two that they're going to be okay. We moved to the West Coast, and this is the situation where if you really wanted to dig in here, you're going to need 2 TVs because or quick trigger
or fast
with the remote, because we have 2 really nice matchups in the Pac-47. Starting with number 9 UCLA at number 16 Arizona. UCLA on the road is a 3.5-point favorite. You said something about injuries, Carla.
Yeah, gosh, this is both these teams, right?
Yeah.
I mean, UCLA was already kind of struggling a bit after losing Eddie Vanderdoes in the first game. And then just yesterday, announcing that Miles Jack is done for the year with a knee injury. Gosh, that's huge. For a team that really kind of relied on both of those players pretty heavily, they're down 3 of their starters. And I think motivation into this game for UCLA now being down 3 and being on the road, I think there's we're going to find out what this UCLA team is worth this week, what they're made of and what kind of mettle they have. Being able to go is, we're talking about environments. Arizona is not a friendly environment at all out of all the ones in the Pac-12. I mean, they've really kind of got a nice thing going down there.
Right.
But Arizona, again, injury, right? Scooby Wright, who won every single defensive award that you could possibly think of last year in the Pac-12, has missed the entire season so far. I just read up on this before we started taping. As of right now, it looks like he's going to be a game time decision. He did practice. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not he plays. I think that's going to play a really, really huge factor. The other thing that's interesting in this matchup is the fact that Rich Rod all time is 0-3 against UCLA. He's never beaten the Bruins. UCLA's lost kind of its focus, or not its focus, but it's lost a little bit of its identity with the 3 injuries. You got a freshman quarterback who has looked like a freshman. Throwing 3 picks just last week against BYU in the first half. I really think Arizona is going to win this game. I just think UCLA is just kind of sliding a little bit because of all this injury bug, and I think it's going to be a great game. But I think Arizona. I keep saying UCLA, but no, really, I think Arizona is going to win this game. What do you think?
It's interesting because I think you can draw comparisons between UCLA and Michigan. In the last couple games, UCLA has figured out how to take some of the pressure off an inexperienced quarterback, and I think Josh Rosen is head and shoulders above where Michigan's quarterback is at this point.
True.
But with that potential, he's still a freshman, true freshman, and the picks last weekend were horrendous. But they discovered a running game in those 2 weeks where Rosen was playing like a freshman. And again, if you're able to keep that going against an Arizona team that may or may not have its best defensive player, the injuries make this tough, and that's a theme that will continue over the next game too. But I think UCLA is in a position where if they're able to take the pressure off of this kid, so maybe he can relax and doesn't feel like he has to do everything. If they can run the football against Arizona, and I'm going to go ahead and say they will. I'm going to pick the Bruins to win this one.
Because you have to figure, even if Scooby Wright plays, he's not going to be 100%.
Right. It's a tough thing that would be a really tough game to jump into, even at home. It's your first game of the season. Almost simultaneously to that game, we have Utah, number 18, visiting number 13, Oregon. Oregon is an 11.5-point favorite there. And there were questions about both of these teams starting quarterbacks coming into this. Although I did take a look. They're both listed as starters on the midweek depth charts. So we've got the Travis Wilson, Vernon Adams. What do you think?
This is a great matchup because Oregon does a really nice job of running the ball, and Utah does a really good job of stopping the run, which again makes for always an entertaining matchup when you have the strength against strength kind of thing. Like you said, Vernon Adams. People started asking questions after the Eastern Washington game. With whether or not he was kind of ready to step into the role as starter at Oregon, especially playing against his old team. Now that's not necessarily. I mean, he transferred from Eastern Washington. I mean, that's an interesting situation to put a kid into. Is for your first game as a starter at a Pac-12 school, go play your former team against the guys that were your team for the last 3.5, 4 years. That's not a good. I mean, that's a tough situation. So I give him some credit for pushing through and getting that win, but he broke his finger, which is why he missed last week. And you've got to wonder whether or not, he listed this as a starter, but what's his effectiveness going to be in throwing the ball? And does that matter with as good as the run game is at Oregon? If the Utah defense is as good as we think it is, they're going to rely on an arm to get a couple of key plays in this game, and whether or not he's going to be able to deliver those throws, we don't know. The other thing about Utah, this is another team that's not afraid to go on the road and get a win. Another team, Utah, we talked about them against Michigan. They went in the opening game of the season in a tough road environment and won that game handily. I don't think they're going to be intimidated by going to Eugene. I really don't, because they've played in this kind of setting before. This is one of those times that if Utah is ever going to beat Oregon, this is a good setup for it. I think it's strength against strength. I think if Utah is ever going to do this, this is a good time for them to do this. Interestingly enough, I looked up the last time Utah beat Oregon in Eugene, and it was 1994, which is, again, let's feel old for a second because I'm a college professor. That was before a good portion of the team was born.
Okay, so it's been a while.
I hate to bring that up because that makes me feel incredibly old, but it's true. They really haven't won a game up there in a long time, and I don't know. I think this Utah team is legit. I think they're going to surprise some people and find a way to pull out a win against an Oregon team that's still trying to figure out its identity without Mariota.
Okay. Utah's rush defense. I really think that's the biggest reason why they beat Michigan as handily as they did in the first game, because it goes back to what we've talked about this in the other two games. You've got an experienced quarterback, and if he can't rely on rushing game behind him, then you've got problems. That is not necessarily what's going to happen in this game, because as you said, this is a strength on strength, and Vernon Adams is not. This will be his fourth game with his current team, but he's hardly an inexperienced quarterback.
Right.
I think of the four Pac-12 teams that we're talking about here, Oregon's the only one that has a loss, but I think the fact that was, a night game at Michigan State, I think that game says more about Michigan State and how good it is, rather than point out any real weaknesses with Oregon. You guys will know I have questions about Oregon historically against physical teams like a Michigan State. I'm not sure that this is the same kind of situation here. Oregon is very, very good, and I'm still convinced, especially at home. 11.5 points, maybe they don't cover, but I think this will be a win for the Ducks on Saturday. And those are our games. So we've figured out half of the Pac-12 and what's going to happen with their season. Tune in next week when we'll tell you what happens. Say you want to try the SEC West? Should I figure that out? Maybe. I don't know.
Well, that should be fun after the Oregon Mississippi State, or the Auburn Mississippi State game.
Yes.
which could turn everything upside down. And A&M's got a tricky game this week too. So I think we're going to see some. I think we could see the SEC West just completely turned upside down by this time next week. I really do. I think it's going to be fun this year.
Okay.
Is this the year that we don't have any undefeated teams heading into the playoff?
If you're asking me about my team, I'm like, that's entirely possible. I'm ready to quit playing MAC teams, I guess. Guys, thank you very much for joining us. We promise we will be back next week, unless there are any presidential debates that I'm not aware of. Carla, thank you very much.
Yep, thank you as always.
Guys, we'll talk to you again soon.